Holocaust Museum Houston's new exhibit, Unveiled from the Vault, is now on view through January 4th. Unveiled from the Vault explores the history of the Holocaust through a curated selection of artifacts from the Holocaust Museum's permanent collection, many of which are being displayed for the first time. Admission is free for everyone on Thursdays from 2 to 5 p.m. and always free for children and students through the age of 18 and college students with a valid student ID. Get your tickets now at hmh.org/tickets.
Today on CityCast Houston, City Council recently banned people from sleeping on sidewalks in downtown and Edo. It's just one part of Mayor Whitmire's plan to end homelessness. So today I'm sitting down with his housing director, Mike Nichols, to learn more. And after our chat today, executive producer Laura Eisensee will be joining us for a conversation sponsored by the Xavier Academy about what makes them stand out from other local private schools. Stick around to learn more. It's Monday, August 4th. I'm Raheel Ramzanali, and here's what Houston's talking about. Before we get into the show, I wanted to give a huge shout out to the folks who became CityCast Houston neighbors last week. Thank you. Seriously, thank you so much for your support. It means the world to us here at CityCast Houston, and we can't wait to meet you at an upcoming member event and also share your local shout outs on the podcast. Now, our membership campaign officially wrapped on Friday, but here's the truth. We are so close to hitting our goals. In fact, if 8 members joined right now, we'd meet our goal and you can get back to regularly scheduled programming. I'm not saying we're going to keep pitching until we get to 50 new neighbors, but I'm kind of saying that. So if you've been meaning to join and you've heard about all the great perks and have been kind of on the fence, do it right now. Just 8 of y'all and we will hit our goal. You can do it at membership.citycast.fm. And you also need us. We know it can be hard to make new connections out here. That's why we're planning member events that will help connect you with more neighbors. Plus, you're getting weekly curated events guides to discover more about the city we all love so much. Now, if supporting the show and engaging more deeply with everything H-Town has to offer sounds like something you want to be a part of, head to membership.citycast.fm and sign up for just $10 a month. It is absolutely invaluable to us. So again, thank you so much. And here's a cool thing. If you do it today, you will get that CityCast Houston Neighbors tote as well as a thank you gift. I know a lot of people are excited about that. So do it right now, $10 a month or $100 a year at membership.citycast.fm. Director Nichols, welcome back to CityCast Houston. How's everything going?
Thank you so much for having me. It is a very, very busy time as we're making real headway into the development of the mayor's homelessness plan.
Yeah, and let's talk about that because over the last few years, Houston has gotten a lot of positive national attention for moving thousands of people off the streets and into stable housing. You actually joined us to talk about that when you were with the Coalition for the Homeless. So why do we need to change our approach? What happened?
Well, I think a couple of things happened, and I'm very indebted to Mayor Whitmire for actually pointing out these areas. They weren't exactly blind spots, but there were areas that we needed to focus on more. And during the campaign, he really saw this in living color. First of all, what he saw, we knew this from at the Coalition, that too many people were having to wait on the street for help. And that's a problem because we were focusing on the people who were the most vulnerable, and we were trying to move people directly into supportive housing off the street. And that's still a great way to do things. But because of the need to braid complex funding, because of the need to get a house or an apartment ready and meeting guidelines, especially HUD guidelines for vouchers, it just took too much time and people were having to wait on the street. So that was one part we had to fix.
And by the way, just want to let everyone know, HUD is the Department of Housing and Urban Development.
The second is something we all knew about, that we did not have a reliable, flexible local funding stream. Almost all of our money that we did for housing was federally funded, HUD funded, and particularly was funded during the COVID crisis.
Yeah.
With COVID, we had a lot of money and we were able to move people from the street into housing, supportive housing, and that was great. Of course, now the COVID money has run out and we need that reliable, flexible stream of funding. And the third thing, again, we knew about it in the system, but the mayor really had us focus on it, was how do we support people with severe mental illness? And those three issues are, the new plan has a better focus on those three issues. Housing people so they don't have to wait on the street, making sure we have support for people with mental illness, and having a sustainable local funding stream.
Now, this has been a very high priority for Mayor Whitmire, right? Obviously, you want to help our most vulnerable. Is this also a rush right now because of the World Cup that's coming up? So we want to solve this before then, or at least get, something done, because we have seen other cities do this, including Houston. When major events come up, you start cleaning up the streets, and unfortunately that means you get unhoused individuals off for that event, right? Like, we've seen this happen. Is there anything at play with that as well?
I feel very strongly that that's not the basis of this plan. That's not the basis of the rush. The rush is very clear. More than 300 people die on the street every year. The rush is that during the last freeze that we had 1,300 people in emergency shelters. Very expensive process, very difficult, and not the right way to do things. The right way to do things, and this is where I'm really impressed with the mayor, is make sure the housing funds are there to house people. And that's where the mayor came up with the 3-year, $210 million plan. It's about $70 million a year. Those funds are set up to move people from the street into housing, because we have to have that first and foremost.
And let's talk about that, because that is a very important part, right? Funding. How are you going to get this done? And as you mentioned, it's about $70 million a year. And we read in Houston Public Media that there's only about $30 million budgeted as of now. That leaves about a $40 million gap right there. Where is this money going to come from?
We're very optimistic about a substantial contribution from major philanthropy. We're very confident that the county can find some additional home art money. That's another funding stream to put into housing and into eviction protection, which is part of that. We think Metro will come up with some more money. And then there's additional funding coming from the federal government that we are moving into this homelessness support. I feel comfortable and confident that we'll be able to make the mayor's plan. And what we call that is a ramp-up plan, because it doesn't mean you have the $70 million and then you start. We're spending the money as it comes in. I mean, in the last few weeks, the city council has approved more than $5 million worth of funding for partners like Search, the Harris Center, Family Endeavors, and the Houston Recovery Center for homelessness response.
Could you give me a little hint there where the major philanthropy money is coming from? Just a little one. Come on.
I'm not going to, I don't want to do that yet, but I feel so confident about it. And again, the groups that we're speaking to, and you've seen this done other times. Raheel, remember I was interim CEO at the Houston Parks Board that built out the 150 miles of bikeways. And we work with philanthropy too. And you work with these major foundations, they're always going to want government to put in their money and know where the government money is so they can put in theirs. So it's a complex funding stream. But again, my experience says this is very forthcoming, and I think it's going to happen. But it's a matter of local government has to be committed. And when I say local government, county and city, we have to have a system that would make sure there's accountability for that money. And then that philanthropic money will be in our hands. It's a great system. Houston, you've seen it again with the parks, with the other places, but particularly the model is with the parks.
It's great that, entities want to give back, but also it has its own issues, because what happens when those private dollars run out, or that, the support goes somewhere else? We've seen that happen, right? Like not as sustainable as it can be. What do you say to that?
What I say is the major philanthropic organizations in Houston have said to me clearly, if you want our money, and it's a significant sum of money, then you have to show us what is your road to sustainable local funding. And that's part of the process. And again, we're going to get it done because this is Houston. And what happens when public and private pull together, it works. The philanthropy in Houston is not looking to band-aid a problem. And again, go back to the parks and the bikeways. It wasn't a band-aid problem. It was saying, we're going to give you this money if the city will come through. There's a great article that I love from 2016 by Ann Stern of Houston Endowment and Elena Marks, who used to run the Episcopal Foundation, that said, philanthropy can't mask bad government. And the article's about the need for philanthropy to leverage government to do the right things. And let me say clearly, the other thing, Raheel, it saves money.
Yeah.
It cost us $25,000 a year to house a formerly homeless person in an apartment with a lock and a key, wraparound services, and rent subsidy, $25,000. The numbers are over the top when I read about studies of what does it cost for a person to live on the streets when they're going to the emergency rooms 4 and 5 times a week. I mean, think about that cost. Think about the cost when an ambulance has to pick up a person who's downtown having a seizure and taking them to the hospital. That's the experience of people living homeless. And that number is significant. The last number I saw was about $86,000 a year per person.
Gotcha.
And of course, the worst thing we can do is take them to jail. That doesn't help them at all and also cost $40,000 a year. So what the right thing to do is put them in long-term supportive housing. And that's the direction the mayor's going.
But what if it doesn't come through? What if some of this funding doesn't occur? You said that you're kind of going as the money comes in. So then what happens to the plan if there is a major gap in this budget?
I feel like for these 3 years, for the next 3 years, there's not going to be a major gap because we know generally about the federal funds.
Okay.
Interesting enough, HUD's federal funds on homelessness are not increasing this year and next year, even with the budget cuts, and that's good news. And then secondly, as we talk to senior executives at the Housing and Urban Development Department of the federal government, they are so interested in homelessness and so interested in Houston that we think we're going to have opportunities there.
So with the federal cuts that we've seen across the board, in the last few months with President Trump, you're saying none of those cuts have impacted what you're doing right now?
Not for this year and next year. Not for this year and next year. But I will say clearly that long term, we in the city of Houston need a sustainable local funding source. And that is about 3 years out. For sure, it will require going to the next legislature. But my sense is that we will continue to have such progress like we're having right now, that there'll be a great deal of emphasis on this, and the success will be there. The funds will be coming, state funds and federal funds and private funds. I mean, if you look at what's happened already, just with the small plan that's in place, we did a housing focus around the Beacon downtown, and 25 people were connected to housing. Next to the ball field, next to Dyken Field along Chartres, we've done a major program there. And 68 people were engaged, 46 were connected to housing.
And that means they are actually in some sort of housing right now.
Correct.
They are
that
officially off the streets.
That's correct.
Okay.
Bayou Place, 15 individuals engaged and connected to housing. Allen's Landing, 24 individuals engaged, 16 were housed.
I want to pause you there because I'm glad you brought that up. And again, that is the encampment that you see under the freeway by Dyken Park, right? I think that's one of the most popular ones. And unfortunately, because fans are going to the game, they always point this out. It goes viral on social media from time to time as well. When I drive by there on Sundays, I see a lot of people helping out and giving back. So that's not city related. That's just Houstonians helping out.
That is not city related. In fact, I'm going to be very careful about this, but I understand that people need to be fed. I'm very, very emphatic about that. I served as chairman of the board of the food bank. So I understand and I believe in that. But I like things done in an organized, systemic fashion. Sometimes coming down and opening up your trunk, not making sure the trash is picked up afterwards, is not helping. I mean, Houston has a poverty problem. There's no doubt about that, beyond the homelessness issue. So a lot of these folks are really impoverished. We need, and we're trying to work with these groups to come up with a system that is more efficient and effective when it comes to feeding the needy in Houston. Coming down to Dyken Park is not necessarily the best thing, particularly when it doesn't break the pattern of those homeless individuals who are staying around there and saying, I need to live right downtown and I don't need to change my life because people are bringing me food.
Well, Director Nichols, do you hear the frustration from these groups that maybe they're feeling like the city's not doing enough? That's why they're doing this. Is there any of that at play? Because I could see that, right? Like there could be some frustration there.
Sure. We're actually having a meeting. The Coalition for the Homeless is called the meeting in August, of groups that are interested in doing this feeding. And when people come to me, about a year ago, 2 years ago, a group of mosques, synagogues, and churches wanted to do a feeding program. And they had this idea they were going to come on Sundays and open up trunks, et cetera. And what they ended up doing was something really exceptional. We made sure they knew where people who were no longer experiencing homelessness were moved into apartments that they could set up and make sure they have food. And they began setting up these monthly grocery stores in these affordable housing units. And that's been a real win. It's a much better system. And we're hoping we'll be able to organize that among the whole community, again, of these generous donors.
Y'all, Houston Restaurant Weeks is finally here. The city's biggest foodie event is officially underway. This is a month-long celebration of food and community going on now through Labor Day, September 1st. Almost 400 restaurants across the greater Houston area are offering special multi-course menus for brunch, lunch, and dinner, all at set prices. And here's the best part, every meal benefits the Houston Food Bank, which helps our local community fight hunger with every bite. There are so many choices to pick from with Restaurant Weeks, from classic Houston spots to Michelin-rated standouts. There's something for everyone, so head to HoustonRestaurantWeeks.com and explore all of the restaurants and the menus they're offering. Plus, you can filter the options by what part of town you want to dine in and the kind of cuisine you love. This is your chance to explore our iconic food scene, discover new favorites, and give back just by dining out. Get all the details at HoustonRestaurantWeeks.com to dine out and do good.
It's summer. Time to enjoy long days, lazy nights, and zero cooking. Because Uber Eats has deals all summer long. So, when hunger strikes, don't sweat it. Delicious deals are just a tap away on Uber Eats. Enjoy all your favorite food delivered straight to you. Get Burger King, Subway, Popeyes, and hundreds more local favorites and savor every last bite. Now that sounds like a good summer. Order now on Uber Eats. Terms apply. Product availability varies by region. See app for details.
Speaking of that encampment and others around the downtown area, City Council just passed the civility ordinance. And basically, I'm just going to sum it up. It's so unhoused individuals can no longer sleep on sidewalks in downtown and East Downtown. So, Director Nichols, why was the civility ordinance so important to Mayor Whitmire?
Let me take a step back to answer that question fully. Mayor Whitmire came into office and he put Chief Larry Satterwhite, former police chief and now head of public safety, and me together to work on solving the homelessness problem. Chief Satterwhite had run downtown for HPD for many years and had been worked closely with people experiencing homelessness. And one of the things he's taught me is that the need to break the habitual places of where people experiencing homelessness hang out, expect to be fed, expect to be able to panhandle money, etc. And by breaking the habits, it becomes more interesting to them and more important that they go into housing. So the test is, and this is a test, that in downtown, we will tell folks experiencing homelessness that they cannot sleep downtown anymore. We believe that when people are offered housing or opportunities to improve their mental health or other substance issues, the answer will more often be yes, because this civility ordinance will break the habits of these individuals. And the experience we have is that that is true, because that is, people cannot sleep in the parks. And that's been, when people are in the parks, there's been a chance to get them to help.
Yeah.
And that's the same thing downtown. We really feel like this will be a motivator for the people experiencing homelessness. Secondly, it's a motivator for HPD. Currently, HPD goes, no, there's nothing really we can do. Well, this is a motivator because they will say to them, look, you can't sleep downstairs. Can we get you to a facility that can get you some help? And the answer is often yes.
But wouldn't the ones who don't want help, or those who are moved out, wouldn't they just move to other parts of the city that don't have the civility ordinance?
It will be smaller and smaller numbers, because the plan is that we will move out from there as resources grow. And when they begin to have some faith in that there's housing available, that they'll have faith in that Harris Center is there to help them with their substance issues. That's part of the problem. These people have been failed time and time again. This is our opportunity. And that's why you can't just have the civility ordinance alone. You must have that $70 million in housing. You must have a hub where people can go to and spend the night. And those places exist today. And we're trying to set up another low barrier shelter that, like the Houston Recovery Center, that will add to our number of emergency and transitional beds.
So if an HPD officer comes across an unhoused individual, what does that interaction look like?
They are trained to deal with that individual. What it often is today is that the police officer takes that extra time and effort and will actually put them in their car and say, with your permission, I'm going to take you to the Harris Center. They have beds there at 6160, and we'll get you the mental health help you need, substance abuse help you need. We will take you to the Houston Recovery Center, where you can get a night sleep, and then you can think more clearly, and there'll be somebody doing outreach there to help you look at housing or next steps. Again, is it perfect? No. But more and more people, when they get that one place to sleep, when someone has that one extra effort, they do move toward housing. Again, my experience over the last 6 years is, when offered an apartment with support services, 80% of the people will say yes. And probably that number is much higher when you take out people with severe mental health problems. And I think we'll see success downtown. And as the community sees more success, they'll be more interested in funding this.
Yeah.
Because remember what I said, the goal is long-term, sustainable, local funding. But we have to prove that our work is successful.
Director Nichols, when you talk about moving the unhoused community into housing and getting them into a safe situation, how long does that usually take? And what's your ultimate goal? Like, how fast do you want it to move?
It's taking too long. I mean, that's the obvious answer. It's taking too long. Part of the problem is, since the COVID money slowed down, the movement into long-term supportive housing has slowed down. I've always said the Navigation Center, 80 beds where people go as they're in line for housing. How fast we do it is the key. Right now, that's taken 50 to 90 days. It needs to take 30 days. The goal would be that everybody who we bring into the system, who are on the street, within 30 days, they will be into some sort of housing. As many people as possible in permanent supportive housing, others in transitional housing, others in mental health housing, as that individual need. And that's the goal, would be everybody would do that in 30 days. In Houston today, because of the funding, if a veteran shows up as homeless, we can move that veteran into permanent supportive housing within 30 days because of the good, solid funding streams. We need to do that for everybody experiencing homelessness.
With the civility ordinance, if an HPD officer finds somebody, experiencing homelessness, they are then moved to just temporary housing, and then it takes 50 to 90 days as of right now?
Right this second, we're much slower.
Wow.
Again, some people, it's immediate, but when you look at the average, it's in that age. And we need to move that faster. And I think with the monies that are going out that I just said, the last month we put out $5 million, you'll see those days go down. And that I check every day because that's my gauge for success.
So they're just in temporary housing for that 50 to 90?
That's right. The Navigation Center's one, could be Star of Hope, Salvation Army,
Gotcha.
Houston Recovery Center, Harris Center. And it's too long. It's just too long. And the faster we move them, then we can move more people into the Navigation Center. There's always going to be a shortage of beds, but the object is to move people quicker and more efficiently.
That's the big plan. We've talked about what, private philanthropy can do, what the government can do. We haven't talked about us, Houstonians. What can we do to help out?
I'm a big proponent in organized charity. The Coalition for the Homeless, again, does a tremendous job. Search does a great job. Salvation Army, Habitat for Humanity. I can think of dozens of organizations. Houston Recovery Center, Harris Center, that need funding. So where does my charitable donations go? They go to those organizations that today are doing the work. There are 25,000 nonprofits in Houston. There are a lot of them that try to do the right things. Look at the ones that are using your funds to leverage government money to do the right job.
Director Nichols, thank you so much for joining us again, and hope to have you back on.
Thank you. And follow up because we're going to be held accountable.
Yeah, accountability is a big part of our mission here at CityCast Houston, so we definitely want to have you back, Director Nichols. I want to take a moment and shout out our newest CityCast Houston neighbors. Big thanks to Ariana M., Zach K., Rosalind R., Don L., Anita S., Joel L., Christopher P., Victoria S., Nikhil M., and Robert P. You can be like them and get a shout out right here on CityCast Houston and in our daily newsletter, Hey Houston, by becoming a CityCast Houston neighbor at membership.citycast.fm. That was Mike Nichols. He's the director of Houston Housing. Please share this episode with 3 friends who live in downtown so they can learn about the city's plan to help other Houstonians find stable housing. I'd also appreciate it if you could take 30 seconds right now and give us a review about the show on whatever app you're listening to. We really want to hear from you. While you're there, hit the subscribe button as well. Looking for something to do this week after work? Check out our hand-picked events listings in our daily newsletter, Hey Houston. You can find the link to sign up in our show notes. And don't go anywhere. We've got a special segment coming up sponsored by the Xavier Academy. Executive producer Laura Isensee is chatting with the school's founder, Richard De La Quadra, about their program and how they support every student's unique needs.
Hey, I'm Laura Isensee here with Richard De La Quadra, founder of the Xavier Academy. Richard, please tell us, what is Xavier Academy?
So Xavier Academy is a fully accredited small private school. We are preparing our kids for college. 90 to 95% of our kids will go on to 4-year colleges and universities. And one of the ways that we are able to do that and meet the academic needs of our students is by providing AP level courses as well as dual credit courses with Lone Star, Houston Community College, and the University of St. Thomas. So we can be as highly academic as our students need us to be, while also providing the academic support that they may need in particular fields and areas.
And what makes Xavier different from other private schools in Houston?
What makes Xavier different is our approach to looking at every student individually and committing to providing what each student needs to be successful. So part of it is really delving into who every individual is and what each student needs, really looking at really customizing a kid's education. So we function as a traditional school where we provide the academic background like anyone else does. But our approach is, if you are strong in a particular area, we want to strengthen that as much as possible. So if you're gifted in math, we want to make sure that you get to at least calculus BC by the time you graduate. On the other hand, if you need extra support in a particular subject, then we can also provide that as well, whether it's tutoring with one of your teachers or a reading specialist or a math specialist.
That sounds so great that you're really looking at each student's strengths and also where they maybe need more support. And one area of support that really struck me learning about Xavier Academy is what you have in terms of mental health support for students. Can you tell me more about that?
Sure. One of the things that makes Xavier unique is really our willingness to look at our programs and see what works well and what doesn't. And I would say about 10 years ago, I had a young lady come into school. She was a ballerina, and she came to us because she needed a flexible schedule. And her mom happened to be completing her studies to be a therapist and needed to volunteer and get some hours in for practice. And she asked me, could she do that at Xavier Academy? And of course, we're a kind of school that we like to say, yes, let's see how this goes, try it out. And I got to tell you, after a couple of months, the students that this therapist began working with was having breakthroughs at a much faster rate than what we normally were able to do. And needless to say, we went from someone who volunteered to today I have 3 therapists at school that really provide all levels of services for the kids. Now, please understand, we're not a therapeutic school. So we are not here committing to take on kids' therapy. But I really have seen the advantage of having highly trained individuals to support kids whenever something happens. So if there are 2 friends that get into squabble, then I have trained therapists that can teach kids how to manage conflict resolution, how to learn to repair relationships, and learn how to have a conversation that kids might find difficult.
It really sounds like you're committed to, the students' well-being and just growth as a person. I'm wondering, for our listeners, what else would you like to share with us today about Xavier Academy?
Sure. We definitely are committed to students' well-being. And as a matter of fact, one of the things that we have found out over time and that our students have proven is that when kids feel good about themselves, when they're happy individuals, they really begin to perform in the classroom. So one of the other things that I'd like to highlight about our school is this relational approach to education. If kids feel connected, if they feel like they're a member of a community, they feel respected, cared for, and are invited to be part of whatever processes are going on, then they are more likely to buy into this concept of school and actually maybe even look forward to school and enjoy the experiences every single day.
What a concept. Look forward to school. Where can we go to learn more and schedule a tour?
So you can definitely visit our website, xavieracademy.org. Otherwise, you can give us a phone call at school, 832-533-2652, and just ask for the admissions department. We have tours at school every single day during school hours.
Well, Richard, thank you so much for being here and sharing this about Xavier Academy. Again, listeners, you can check out xavieracademy.org to learn more. We'll have that link for you in our show notes as well, so you're just a click away. Thanks for listening.
Thanks, Laura. That will do it for today. I'm Raheel Ramzanali. Thank you for listening, and I hope you learned something new.